away, but while I'm flying away from it, look at it, Mike. It's lightening up.
Wow.
It's becoming more of a barrel-shaped. It's the wedge is decreased a little bit. It's slowly turning. It almost looks like it's turned to the southeast. So I'm breaking away from it as fast as I can because it's getting a little closer for my comfort. But it's changed shape. It's barreled. It's gotten a little higher. The base has rised. The base is probably about 1,300 to 1,400 feet above the ground, so it's just 300 or 400 feet below me. And as you can see, it's got a definite cone shaped on it, and it appears that it's...
We are listening live to KFOR right now as we are tracking a large, violent, and possibly deadly tornado just south of Oklahoma City.
All right, I want to go right now to Carl Parker, who's watching this very closely. And Carl, could this be a good sign?
Well, you know, we have seen a little bit of a lessening in the velocity, but this has been such a dangerous tornado so far that that's not going to help very much. Right now, the velocity indicating that we've got a storm that's probably on the order of about 140 miles per hour or something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. And that is now headed towards Lake Stanley Draper. So Stanley Draper Lake is the area that's going to get hit next by this storm. And then, Brian, it's going to be southeastern Oklahoma City. It looks like areas primarily south of 240. The storm does not change direction very much.
So it looks like it'll go south of Tinker Air Force Base and north end of the lake there, and then into a much less populated area. And you can see here on the velocity, if you were watching a moment ago, there were much more pronounced bright greens and bright reds in a much bigger area. So as, in fact, you can see, it looks like it's trying to rope out there. The tornado is getting much smaller diameter. In fact, you can see it kind of dissipating here right before our eyes. Now, now that doesn't mean that this threat is gone.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because as we saw yesterday, sometimes these, in fact, these supercells always cycle to some degree, right? Now, will that cloud base descend again? Will it drop another tornado? Remains to be seen. But boy, for the folks there near that lake, and there we just got a new scan just came in there near the lake there. This is fantastic news because whatever is left of it is dramatically less intense. In fact, it looks like maybe the tornado has even dissipated, although we're still seeing pretty good rotation aloft with this system.
Yeah, these things maintain their intensity when you've got a perfect balance of an inflow of warm and humid air and then cooler air that wraps around the backside of the system. But there are times when the cooler air will win out, essentially. It will overcome the warmer air, the inflow, choke off that inflow, and the result is what you see right there when the storm begins to weaken. But there is still a very strong mid-level and even lower level rotation here, so it can go through this whole process and then once again begin to take in that inflow, and the tornado can develop once again. That's exactly what we saw, by the way, yesterday in Edmond and Arcadia. On the north side of town, we saw a weaker tornado that dissipated, and then a very strong tornado developed in the wake of that.
And what we see on the velocity on the radar is still rotation aloft. So we know that the supercell still has the potential to produce a tornado, but clearly on the video, the tornado does not seem to be. Now that doesn't mean that there is no rotational wind, but we clearly are not seeing the kind of strength of a system that we saw before. I was just going to make a point, and I forgot exactly what my point was going to be. But the news at this moment is much better for the folks downstream in the southeastern, what's called on the map here, southeast Oklahoma City, which really is a much less populated suburban area of Oklahoma City. It's actually got a lot of trees in it, and you can see kind of on the helicopter shot there, looking over on the other side of the lake and downstream of this tornado.
Yeah, and unfortunately this thing was really peaking right at the moment that it was coming through one of the more heavily populated areas south of Oklahoma City, right through Moore, which is the same area that was hit in 1999 and not very far away from the area.
Town.
At least the sound, not the exact same part of town, but at least the same region of the metro area. And unfortunately, it was a violent tornado as it was coming through there, and I fear that we're going to be hearing about quite a bit of destruction and damage.
I think that's certain. I remember what my point was. So the tornado is like a spinning top. You can have a spinning top, but if the top runs into almost any little thing, it can get disrupted. Tornado requires, as you said, and put it very well, a perfect balance. Look, this is live, obviously, on one of the major highways. I tried to catch that exit sign there. And do we know which highway is this on? 35? I wonder.
This is on 44.
On 44. Okay. All right. So let's try and keep an eye out here for an exit sign. Obviously, still a lot of dark skies and violent weather potential in the Oklahoma City area. But Carl, the velocity looks very, very different than it did just a little while ago. The couplet is barely visible.
That's really remarkable. In fact, we can step back here. I can take a look at the velocity mode and show you how this thing has progressed. And I don't know if we can take a look at Max 7 here, or excuse me, take a look at graphics 16, and we can see where there was an incredibly well-defined rotational couplet right there in Moore, came right over Moore, and then we step forward here. You see the scan still pretty well-defined right there, and then still so right around Highway 77. That is the most recent scan right there, and there is still evidence of that, but you can see that it's not as tight as it once was.
All right, we have here where we can take a look at the comparison of the tracks. So south of town there, you see where this tornado has gone in this area down here, and there is the 1999 track that went more of an angle across Moore. So there you see the cell. It's that cell as you track that across south of downtown Moore, Oklahoma. With you see the word city up there. That's Oklahoma City. So downtown Oklahoma City is well to the north. So this is moving through the South Metro, and now tending to dissipate out here, well southeast of town and south of Tinker Air Force Base.
Yeah, and maybe we can have our guys get a look at where they believe the 2003 storm took a path that was more similar to the one that's occurring right now, farther to the south and a little bit more to the east. But they got two very strong tornadoes within 4 years, and rather remarkably, there was a tremendous difference in the amount of fatalities and injuries between those two storms, though there was a similar number of homes that were destroyed, but it was that people were most likely much more aware of what was going on after 1999.
I mean, one thing that is about in Oklahoma City, there is no place better prepared for this.
Right.
The way the media works, our partners there at KFOR are just spectacular at this,
yes,
as they are at other Oklahoma City media. The way people live tornadoes and respond to tornadoes, really as a result, as you said, of the 1999 Moore tornado. They've changed their thinking. Many more people have put safe rooms in their homes.
Yes.
And as I'm sure the thinking in Joplin will change and has changed after the Joplin tornado.
Absolutely. Ladies, over to you.
All right, thanks guys. Great expert analysis on this tornado that has now seemed to have dissipated, but still capable of producing a tornado.
And we've got our own Weather Channel crews on the ground as well. We want to get to Dr. Greg Forbes joining us on the phone in Elmore City, Oklahoma. Greg, what have you seen?
Well, we were on a storm that was farther down to the south. It did produce a tornado, but when we saw what a monster storm was in progress up near Moore, we have diverted and are heading back that way. We anticipate we'll probably be doing some damage coverage. We've been watching on our radars that debris ball that came from west and west-southwest of Moore, right across the south side of Moore, and our radar is a little slow out here with not the greatest of internet reception, but we do now see the weakening that has taken place. Let's hope that continues. But it still has a pretty good hook echo on it. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that this storm would re-intensify over to the in the vicinity of. Unfortunately, it's coming up that probably just a little north of Bethel Acres, where we were reporting from this morning, but it's still well west of there.
All right, Dr. Forbes, we're getting pictures of some of the damage out there right now. Looks like a lot of trees debarked and a lot of homes and cars totally destroyed. You know, seeing this damage right now, I mean, this is pretty incredible. This does look like what we saw in Shawnee a little bit. And look at maybe Interstate 35. It's possible. I'm looking at Interstate 35 maybe, and cars totally destroyed and flipped over on this interstate. I believe this is Interstate 35. A lot of cars are overturned. Either it's 44 or 35. I'm not sure which one it is. But, you know, the debris ball that, you know, they were claiming 2¼ mile wide. Have you ever, was Joplin like that, or was Tuscaloosa that large, the debris ball?
Yeah, the debris ball on Tuscaloosa was about 2 miles wide, but it was a combination of debris in the inner part and then some rain that was also wrapping around the outer part. So that could be the case here. I was thinking that probably the main core of the debris ball, as it was around the Moore area there, I was measuring was about 1.5 miles wide. So I heard the storm riders saying they thought visually that the tornado was probably about a half mile. So I think probably once again we have some debris ball on radar that was a little bit bigger, that may have had a little bit of precipitation and dust that was wrapping around. Not quite that big.
Greg, we're looking at incredible pictures from KFOR. Neighborhoods just seeing a lot of damage. We want to listen in now to KFOR.